gonna have to give me a little bit for the camera thing. It's too early. It's too early. Alright. I do want to get started on getting this beat mixed down. We should have did it yesterday. Got some stuff going on. Alright. Welcome, people. Alright. Bum, bum. Let's go. Bum, bum. Yeah, it's kind of nice, huh? Alright, so we left off the last time we streamed. We finally got this all completed and fixed up. One thing I did do afterwards, after the stream ended, was I changed the tempo. So we had the tempo at like 80. Okay, I bumped it up to 86. So it's a little faster. However, all is intact. What we'll do today is we'll go through mixing down this bad boy. This is our King of Fighters 96 beat flip. Okay. We found a guitar that was pretty close to the one in the sample as well. We added this piano in here. Okay, we were able to emulate the bass that was kind of passing through in there as well and bring that out more. The piano is new. Okay, we've got that thrown in there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to work on getting this premix together. Okay, and then we'll begin mixing. So once you get done having fun and putting everything together, now we want to kind of take this approach. Okay, we're going to do it in 3 phases. Okay, so it's your pre-mix, we're going to do the mix, and then we won't do the master here. That's another long process, or semi-long process. However, okay, that's how you want to kind of break it down and save you some time. So pre-mix, what are we going to do? All we're going to do is we're going to gain stage and we're going to make sure we get our levels right. Okay, we are not going to do stuff like this. Okay, now yesterday I was kind of, or not yesterday but the day before, I was talking about some things. Okay, and we were kind of over here making adjustments, like see we're doing panning and stuff. We don't want to do that. Okay, it's in mono. Let's take that out. Anything that I applied on here from the other day, let's remove it. Okay, now we did create some subgroups, right? So we have like our mix bus here, we have our drum bus, we have our instrument bus somewhere down here, and I do need to go and add tags. So we'll have some tags here we'll have to add. I could do that later, it's not a problem. But we do have all of our subgroups and stuff together, and we're ready to go. Okay, and we'll save our master track for actual mastering. Okay, so we created a subgroup that has everything in it. Okay, so from here we're able to see the levels of our mix and all that, and then here, like if I add this limiter so we can just, hear it at its loud, as loud as we can get it. At least over here in our mix bus, we can see what our actual mix levels are, okay? Because it's not being affected by this, alright? So we can always see what's going on. Alright, so we're gonna play this, and then I'm gonna go and start making some adjustments. So we want our kick, our snare, our bass, and if you have vocals, like if someone's gonna be rapping over it, okay, we want that to be, those are gonna be the loudest elements in your track, okay? So it's cool. So we're not gonna touch our faders, okay? We're gonna leave that 0 unity, okay? Don't touch your faders. We're gonna work with our input gain, okay? The faders are output volume. We don't wanna do that just yet. So let's get our signals coming into the mixer. Let's get those right first, okay? Fine with it being right there, okay? I think we can leave that where it's at. we're not touching the faders. We're gonna leave our faders at 0. Okay, that is called 0 unity. Okay, and we're just going to use our input gain to balance out the volumes and get this track to sound good without having to touch a fader. Okay, no effects, we're not doing any panning, no nothing. We just want to get this as balanced as we can before any processing is done. Yeah, let's leave it right there. That's fine. It doesn't seem to really be bothering our drums at all, so. Alright, so we can see here. Okay, we're somewhere between -3, -6 on our premix. So that's good. That's where we want to get with our mix level, with our premix level, okay? And then when we get to mixing, processing, right? We lose or gain volume, we make up for the volume we gained or lost, whatever, we bring everything back. Our mix is just going to be a cleaner version of the premix, and it's still going to sit between this target level, right? That's all we're looking for. But before you start mixing, you want to get your input gains right. Okay, you want to make sure all of your subgroups, if you make a subgroup or an auxiliary channel or a bus, okay, whatever term you're familiar with, when you go to do that, okay, we're leaving everything at 0 here because you want to make sure that nothing coming in through here is clipping and that you have enough headroom in all of your different channels, okay, and then we can go to work from there. If you do it properly, okay, when you go to bounce this out and play it back, it'll sound just as it did in your program, okay? I notice a lot of people, they're like, it sounds really good, so loud, the bass, da-da-da-da. Then I bounce it, I go put it in my car or whatever, and then it just seems underwhelming, right? 9 times out of 10, this is why, okay? So we want to do proper gain staging of our tracks, of our channels, right, before we start mixing. If you have something that's, peaking up here or whatever, and you start processing, you're not gain staging throughout the processing, and it ends up reaching here, it doesn't matter if you turn this down. Okay, it doesn't matter if you turn this down and it's showing -21, okay? What matters is the signal coming into the mixer, so you can still see that we're up here at -10, despite, because you turned down the fader, it's saying it's -21, okay? And the reason for that being is faders are output volume, which means it's just the volume coming out from the mixer through your speakers. So it does sound quieter, yes, but the signal coming into the mixer, and before you start adding your EQ and all that, is coming in at -10, okay? So don't be fooled, then come in here and start thinking you got plenty of room, and now you're going, oh, look, I'm over here by -9, and the signal's going, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're over here, and now that you're in the red, these peaks are getting chopped off, and that's why your kick, your bass starts sounding underwhelming, because now it's losing its peaks, all right? So it may not hit as hard once you bounce it out. Do things properly, you'll be rewarded. Alright, so get rid of this. Okay. Alright, so what I like to do is I like to blend between soloing and then bringing everything back. So when I'm focusing on shaping the sound, I'll kind of switch between, right? I want to hear certain things, so I'll solo, but the ultimate goal is how does it sound in the mix, right? With everything playing, how does it sound? This could sound really good, okay? This could sound really good solo, and then you go to bring it all back in, and it doesn't, okay? So, again, kind of knowing what you're looking for in the first place, doing that, and then bring everything back in. What does it sound like? Are you able to hear it? Does it, sound like it's in its own space? Is it fighting with anything else? Does another sound, or does that sound seem to be drowned out by another sound because of the frequencies you boosted? You gotta listen, right? So all the info in the world on where to cut, where to boost, all of it's good. It is. It's really good because generally you're gonna find certain things in those places. But at the end of the day, whatever you got playing, how does that sound? And does it work? Right? And if it doesn't, then we got to find another solution. And if it does, well, move on, right? So, all right. So, one thing we know off the bat, right? Kick, snare, your bass, and if you have vocals, those are going to be the loudest elements in your track. Okay, so we could always pull those things up. Okay, make sure all these are playing nice. Okay, but your kick and your bass are usually going to occupy. Okay, they're going to fight. They're the most energetic at the lower frequencies. Okay. So we need to get them to play together, okay? So how do we go about doing that? Well, we know bass, right? Whether you got a synth bass, bass guitar, whatever, you want that to occupy those like really low frequencies, right? You're not depending on your kick to give you the rumble from your speakers, right? You're relying on your synth bass or your bass guitar to kind of handle that, right? Okay. So with our kick, one of the biggest things we can do is make some room in the low end there by leaving those sub frequencies, right? So from like 60 hertz down, from 50 hertz down, we can leave that open for the bass. We can clear some space and let our synth bass, our guitar bass, kind of occupy that to achieve a goal. Okay, so we're cutting here at 60, and right away off the bat, you notice kick is not fighting the bass, and the bass is not fighting the kick to be heard. You can hear the sub bass really good, right? You can hear the synth bass really nicely. Okay, so great. One thing I learned, and there'll always be exceptions to the rules, but whatever you do on one side, you have to do on the other. Okay, so in this case, we've cut here, lower frequencies on the left. So somewhere over here, we got to do something to compensate for the energy that we lost on this side. Okay. Well, here you kind of have what is known as your like thump. Okay, so if we go over here to about this area, you start finding like the punch and a kick. Okay, so we can start looking for is, and let's see how it sounds, right? So as soon as I get here, I'm at about 97 right now. I can hear it. I can hear the punch and the kick. Okay, it's not as, it doesn't want to shake the speaker, but it still gives you that energy like it wants to shake the speaker. Okay, so you still get that heavy like hit, but it's just not shaking the speaker. It's kind of like punching the speaker. All right, so it kind of has a sound like that, right? I don't know if any of y'all ever punched the speaker, but it's got to be like an old speaker. You know, maybe gave a love tap or something too. All right. But it has that sound to it. Okay, so we can. Okay, we can hear the difference between us adding that punch there and not. So we can totally bypass this. Alright, where you can hear the low end of that kick is kind of fighting. Here, we still retain some of the feel, the energy from that kick, because we lost energy from down here, but we added energy here. So okay, and this is good. And then we would reciprocate here in our bass, okay, by going and creating a dip here where we boost it, because we want that kick to be heard and we need it to have its own space as well, right? So we would make a place in our bass for that kick, and we don't have to do too much, right? Maybe 1-2 dB, because a lot of people, what you're going to end up doing anyway is side chaining. And once you side chain, it's also going to dip the volume. Okay, so before you get to that process, though, you do want to just kind of make it. You want to get it to where you can hear the kick and the bass play without there being some kind of conflict, right? Where it may sound muddy or anything like that. You want it clean, and then if you want to, side chain it, let compression do its thing on managing the volume when that kick comes in, and give it some movement and all that through the side chaining, go for it, right? But when you don't do that, just still ends up sounding like kind of muddy, you know? It just still ends up sounding kind of like you could have did, it's not as clean. Yo, Blue in the building. Appreciate you stopping by, man. It's the evening for you, isn't it? No, yeah, it's almost midnight for you. What are you doing here, man? What are you doing up? Yeah, so we wanna do that, okay? You say you just hopped into bed. Yeah, let me say, man, I know tomorrow, I know you happy it's Friday. Yeah, get some time off. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because you're like 14 hours ahead. So I'm just thinking, like, you need to be in bed, man. I didn't mean to wake you up. But usually when I'm streaming, you're at work, because it's nighttime. Here, I get on like 7-8 o'clock. You're already like almost noon. So, but good to see you, definitely. And I had to catch you like early in the morning before like super early in the morning. By then, let's see. At that point, it's like evening time for you. Maybe like 6-7 o'clock or something like that. You get on. By the time you get on, it's super early in the morning for me. I be snoring sometimes, and then I gotta get up, get ready, stuff like that, and then if I can, I'll like try and pop in for a little bit before I have to start the day. Oh man, you've been sick since Monday. You know what, man? A lot of people have been feeling that. All right, these the solar flares that we've been having and all that. Um, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the Brother Rich, but they said some interesting things about the Northern Lights and what was going on, and they said we might have there might be another event this week. So I don't know if it'll be as strong because we got hit with a G5. All right, we got hit hard. And we had two. I think one was weaker, and then one was like the strongest. Um, and then we had another like the other day, and we may have more. So, but during this time, like people have been feeling like really fatigued and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, just if you need to rest or something, like if you feel just like really drained, get that rest, man. Just take the advice, get the rest, man. Yeah, I was like that for a little bit myself. All right, so for our kick, we can just go back to solo in this. So this right here seems it's kind of hollow. You can just hear the hollow in it. All right, we don't okay, we don't really need that. So let's pull that down. All right, so by cutting out those frequencies, you hear that hollow, and then when we add this, it's like it just kind of sucked those frequencies like in, and then it just got quiet, and it felt like the kick got tighter. Okay, so again, we did something here. Now we need to do something here. Okay. And we don't have to do anything major. Make it a little wider. Right. And last but not least, all right. So cool. We get our before, what it sounded like, and then after. All right. And once we get to our drum bus, we got a couple more things we're going to do as well, which will kind of excite this and make it more lively. We had our kick at about -9, so we're just going to take our makeup gain here. Want to get close to that's fine. So you can see we lost a lot of energy, okay, by cutting out this low end here, okay. But again, kind of have this is gonna make up for that. All right, so we don't have to too much worry. See what I'm saying? You might think the way it was before sounded better, but as we're switching between this, all right, there's not that much of a difference, except for this sounds cleaner, the processing that we did, right? We could go further if we want and add some compression and basically kind of squash the peaks um, in order to basically be able to get a bit more volume out of it. Okay, you don't have to, but essentially, now once we get over here, I'm going to add compression anyway. So it's kind of up to you. It's kind of up to the the shape you want. Does it seem like it has, enough attack for you or whatever, right? Does the drums does your kick feel snappy enough or whatever you're shooting for, right? Compression might come in after your EQ, but you don't have to, all right? But it will help, right? So let's go to our snare. All right, let's take a listen to this. First of all, we already know we boosted our kick where about 97, okay? And we can look here and we can see activity starting about here, which means what? We kind of don't need this, right? Our bass is gonna live down here, our kick is living over here, and the snare, there's really nothing going on here, right? So we could just bring that out, right? So let's shape this so we don't cut into this. All right, as we go over here, we notice this is like the base area of the snare. Okay. Now this is a sweet spot, right? Because we know it sounds good, right? So sounds sweet, right? Um, we could do one of two things here. You can either boost it here, you can cut it here. That depends on what you're looking for, right? Maybe there's too much bass in the snare, and you don't want that much bass in the snare, and you want to cut it down a little bit. That's fine. Maybe there's not enough bass in the snare, and you want more bass in the snare, go for it. But it sounds good, so whether you quiet the frequencies here or you make them louder, again, that's going to be your decision. But we found a nice spot here. Me, I'm going to boost here. Okay. Alright. So let's take this. You go. You don't have to go this high, okay? But I do. It's kind of how I learned, right? Just push it all the way up and then just sweep across. Some will say 6 dB. You should be able to hear, right? And you can hear some stuff, right? So let's take it here. As I get here, you start hearing that hollow, boxy kind of sound again. You could leave it. You could drop it a little bit to tame it. But if you start to boost this, you're going to get this sound. Okay, you're going to make this more apparent. Well, we don't want to make that apparent, so we're going to drop it. Okay, so what do you notice? Okay, it almost feels like it's just tightening up the snare. Okay, we start taking those frequencies that don't sound really good, doesn't sound pleasing to the ear, and once you start to drop the volume on them, what do you notice? You just start getting the pleasant stuff, right? That's all that's really left, or that's more audible. And so you get a nicer sounding snare, okay? Same here, okay? You drop here. I'm at about 2.5, though a lot of times right here it's pretty nice. But in this case, no. Okay, I'm starting to get more of the clarity here. Okay, it doesn't sound like it's trying to pierce my ears or anything like that. Okay, so we can just add a little. We're messing with these high frequencies. We don't need to do a lot. Okay, um, and then we'll low pass as well. So, and all we're doing when we are, hold on. All we're doing when we're low passing and high passing, essentially, is for each instrument or each sound is pushing in, seeing how far we can get on each side without um, like diminishing the sound. So if you're high passing, you don't want it to sound like too thin, and if you're low passing, you don't want it to sound like really dull, right? But we just want to kind of push as far as we can. You will notice, okay, you hear all that air that's here. We basically removed it, but you can still hear the snare, right? That's what we want because again, can you hear that extra air? Can you hear it? No, you can't, right? Okay, so we clean things, we make room, right? Because our snare really doesn't need to occupy these frequencies. But you know what does need to occupy those frequencies? Okay, we have sounds that actually live up there. And so by creating space for it, okay, we can kind of give these sounds its own place. So now you don't have to fight. Like, well, the kick, the snare, that stuff's playing up here too, and then my hi-hat is up here, lives up here, and the only way I can really hear it is I either gotta crank the volume up or I gotta boost the hi-hats over here, and then your high end just keeps accumulating, it keeps stacking, right? And then it just gets really loud and like piercing, like you can't listen to it at like a loud volume for very long because it's just those short frequencies, right? Especially if you're close by the speaker, just smashing your eardrums, okay? You're just like after a little bit you just start feeling kind of disoriented, right? So alright, so let's take a look. We had our snare at like -12, but you can see we've actually gained some volume here. About as close as we could. Alright. Alright, so now we're dealing with our closed hat. Then we have our open hat, and then we have a cymbal, right? So again, we're taking a look. Okay, we can actually clean that up. We got our kick, snare, our bass, it all lives down here. Okay, so whatever little stuff is here, we just want to clean it up. Again, to you, you may look and go, oh, well, there's not really much going there, I don't need to touch it. But if we said that about the rest of this, what would happen, right? Stuff that's down there, those frequencies, that volume, that'll all start stacking up. So we want to make our job easier. Pushing too far starts sounding really thin. We've gone too far. So I still want to be able to hear this hat as it is, but we're cleaning out the low end, so you might lose some of that bass that you heard in it. We don't really care for that. No one's going to be listening to that. No one's going to hear that, okay? Nobody's going to hear that, okay? It's my alarm. Alright. So, we got that. Now, again, you might be tempted to come over here because when you boost it, you can hear it better, right? But again, you're bringing a lot of those frequencies out, harsh frequencies, and in the end, no, you don't want to be in a club. You don't want to be at a block party, PA speakers, and they're blasting this down here, and you got like hissing coming out from your song. And when your song plays, they have to turn the volume down, okay, because it's too loud. And then when they play some commercial song, they can turn it up, and it sounds really good, even halfway down the block. All right. So, what we're gonna do here instead, okay, is we're actually going to low pass and roll off those harsh frequencies. Okay, so again, if you go too far, it starts sounding dull. So all you gotta do is bring it back to got some clarity. Okay, so we're at about 15K. Good. Now, if you wanted to, after that, maybe boost somewhere, you could. But typically, people like their hi-hats quiet. Okay, so after the high pass and after the low pass, we're just gonna keep it. But we did notice we lost volume. Okay, we had it about minus 21, so we're actually going to bring volume, our makeup gain up. Okay, instead of bringing it down because it was louder than we originally had it. This is actually quieter, so we're gonna bring the volume up back to our original volume. Okay. And you can actually hear this hat a lot better than originally, right? So if I turn it off versus when I turn it on, you can actually hear the hat better. Whereas here, because of all that brightness, right, and those higher frequencies and stuff, this actually sounds a whole lot thinner. This sounds a bit more full, right? Boom. So alright. And since we're gonna do the same thing here, I will spare you guys the explanation. And a lot of this, especially if you got like good drum kits, a lot of the work has been done for you. All you got to do is just maybe put in a little more work. Just add a little bit more to it. You don't have to do anything crazy. As you can see, look at that. Do you see where that's? So right here, you can see they did themselves, okay? Let me just smooth that. Can you see where that dip goes? Okay, that's about 13, 14K, where we just rolled off our hi-hats previously, right? So you could already tell. Sometimes people come in here and they do it already, okay? And on this, you don't have to do nothing else, right? But you do notice there's some jumping here because they used a shelf instead of doing like a low pass, right? And if you want to leave it like that, you can. There's nothing wrong with it, right? Those super harsh frequencies are being quieted. But you could always come in here. Wait, what just happened? I think I did something else. Hey, I'm doing something wrong here. Why is it not? Oh, because I turned it off. So I'm not getting a low pass. What? Okay, that's the notch filter. There we go. Okay, so we could basically do the same thing. Okay, and once you get about here, we could stop. We already kind of have that mark here. But even if you didn't, right, you at least know what to listen for as you're making those adjustments. So, boom, right? And we're about minus 21. We lost volume down here. So, volume up. And now now as those things play, especially if we turn up the volume like really, really loud, it'll sound better than having to hear. And again, some of this has already been done for us, so it's not going to sound too crazy. However, it won't, you know what I'm saying? Like that. All right. So but you can hear even even from turning this off and then rolling off here, it's quieter, it's more pleasing. Okay, that sounds better than that. There's a lot of hissing. Okay, where that sounds a lot more pleasing, even at that louder volume. All right, let's go. All right, cymbal, basically same thing. So So here, I don't like how this sounds because there's a lot of space between here and then here where it actually sounds good. So I usually tend to put a dip here. Okay, and then we can cool. And then here we have our reverse cymbal. So I'm gonna do something similar here as well. So, bam. All right. Now we got all of our drums. All right, we can listen to just the drums playing, and it sounds pretty nice, right? All right, cool. So, what we're gonna do now is all right, so I could use let's stick with this one. Can't lie, I like this preset right here. Okay, so we have our kick. Our snare about here. All right, I'll add some compression here. That's kind of, yeah, I would say this is more, that's kind of how they have it set up in here, which is oddly strange, but hey, it works, right? Dope. All right. So first thing I'm going to target here is not the bass guitar, but the synth bass. Okay. Now here we can possibly utilize the same thing here, but do this a little differently. So up here to about 60. I mean, I guess we could just do the, you know what, let's just default it. I'm gonna say this was about minus 21-ish. Let's not. I'm gonna put a lot of energy here. Yeah, so we still have this in here. This was gonna make it difficult, and I see why they panned it and all that, like the way they did. But Jesus Christ, man, what? Whose idea? Whose idea was it? Okay, whose idea? So let's go ahead and do that. Let's add an EQ, and we still want to be able to drums. Now, what you can do is you can bring up both your kick EQ, and you can bring up the EQ for your bass. Okay, so we can see here about 97 is where we boosted our kick. Okay, we can give some space here. So at an extreme, you can see when we reciprocate with two sounds or two instruments that are kind of occupying the same frequencies, what we can do is we can make space for one another. Okay, so since we have the punch in our kick, okay, we boosted that. If we decrease in the bass here, you don't have to do much, just enough to where you can hear that kick start to come through. Because if we boost here, then we start to lose the kick, right? And it doesn't matter what type of compression, right? You're trying to side chain and make it duck under. This is still gonna sound nasty, okay, at the end of the day. So let's make that dip. And it's just enough to where we can hear the kick. And it sounds clean. And then that's it. If you want to side chain after, go for it. Alright, but at least we have this. And it allows the kick to be heard and the bass to play. And there not to be as much conflict. Now we have this from 60 hertz onward, right? We rolled that off. So as those lower frequencies are playing here, there's no disturbance. However, we don't want this to go all the way down. And when you're dealing with sub frequencies, okay, when you're dealing with these, a little goes a long way. You don't need to do this. Okay, just because you can barely hear it and you're going, oh, it don't sound like it's too loud. That's very loud. Okay, in a sub in somebody's car, that is very loud. Okay, so little goes a long way. So let's bring it over to about 32. Okay, and we're going to, you can either do this in a shelf. You don't have to high pass, okay, or roll it off. You can do a shelf and just drop it maybe 3 to 6 dB, or you can roll it off like this. However, what you'll notice is those lower frequencies right here become more controlled. It becomes tamed. Okay. And now it's just not like you get like a nice clean, okay, and it only needs a little bit down here to give you what you're looking for, to give you that rumble, right? You don't need all of that, okay? So we could do that, and then if we want, we can boost somewhere over here. I'm kind of jumping here, but also somewhere between 3, what did they say? I normally don't do it, but if you want, you could boost somewhere between like 300, 400 hertz. This kind of helps bass on like smaller speakers, smartphones, stuff like that. I tend to not boost here, but you may have a situation where you do. I mean, there's already some activity there. I just leave it alone. You know, if you're on small speakers, your chances are you're not gonna feel the bass, which is most likely what you're wanting to do. And if you hear the bass, that's fine, but from small speakers, you'll never feel bass. So why does it matter? All right, but you can get some clarity out of it, and it will shine, right? Or it will cut through on smaller speakers and stuff. But at that point, nobody's feeling it, so it's just kind of That's on you. That's on you. All right. So so let's take our low pass. Again, see the work, right? It's already done. We're just, as you get in closer, it kind of cuts out. For sub basses, I usually stop at about 1K. And the reason being is everything else, pianos, brass, right? That stuff lives up here, okay? And when I'm listening to bass, I'm not trying to, again, hear bass. We want to feel bass. So when we get over here, I want that piano to come through, okay? If I go over here, right, let's just say you were using the 808, right? Because sometimes 808s just bleed up all of this, right? And you have this 808, and all this stuff's going on here. Now, the frequencies where you're probably gonna want to boost that piano or whatever are gonna be also occupied by the 808. So now the 808 has to fight with the piano, right? Where the piano's fighting with the 808 when it's just turned to shine, and it can't get through. So a lot of times, if I go into about the 1K range, the bass still sounds good. The 808 still sounds good. But now I leave all of this open for anything else, right? Pianos, flutes, whatever you may have going on here, right? To give it that space. And again, we're not trying to hear the bass. We just want to feel it. It's 21. We're about there anyway, so nice. So when that piano comes in, and even if we want to make this piano quieter, it's not trying to fight with the bass to be heard. So, really quickly, we have our drums, and then we have our bass for the most part, right? Instrument bus out. Okay, so again, your kick, your snare, your bass, your vocals, they're going to be the loudest elements in your track. As long as we got our kick, our snare, and our bass, because we have no vocals in this track, we got them all playing together really nicely, and it sounds really good. Everything else is going to be easy because we all know it's going to be quieter than those elements, right? So we know everything else is going to fit somewhere in between, okay? I'm not sure if I want to actually add this here because actually we're not going to. So yeah, we're not going to do it. All right, let's listen to this and see what we can do. Let's just use this. Once we get to about 600, about 900, yeah, I'd say like we're right here about 700, so I actually like that. Cool. All right, we'll low pass this as well. But what we do notice right here, you can actually see there's some activity here. It's like really bright. And it doesn't sound that bad, right? So if we want to, we could either do this, or we could do this, right? So what we're using this for is it's kind of like a background sound. So in addition to, making something louder or quieter, picture this, imagine this, okay? You're looking at this EQ right now, and let's say this line that goes across the middle is center stage, okay? We are looking at a stage from the top down. So we're up high somewhere, and we're looking down on this stage, at this stage. If I boost, then we are pushing a sound to the front of the stage, meaning it's going to sound louder to the audience. If we cut, if we bring down, then we're effectively pushing that sound, right? Or let's say range of frequencies to the background, okay? Further back in the stage, it's going to make it sound quieter, right? To the audience. So sometimes you have to make that decision. Okay, this sounds really good right here. I can turn this up. Okay, this sounds nice. But is this like a main sound? Is this like a foreground sound? Or is it something I just wanted to have in the back? Okay, so when we actually do this, I can bring it to the foreground, okay? But I can also bring it to the background, right? So when we go to bring the volume back and we get it back to the same volume, what you're going to notice are these frequencies when they come out, it sounds quieter and it gives the illusion that the sound is playing in the back. Okay? Yo, Leon the Black Cat, appreciate the follow. How you doing this morning? I was just kind of going over the EQ. Like some tools, if you can understand how it works, right? If you can understand like certain things about it, you'll never forget how to use that tool, right? You'll never forget the approach to that tool, and you can apply it no matter where you go. Anytime you pull up an EQ, you go, okay, when I boost a signal, this is what I'm doing, right? The EQ, this is the picture of my sound stage I'm looking at from the top down. If I decide to push somewhere and I decide to boost it and turn it up, I am pushing this sound, right? The range of frequencies closer to the front of the stage is going to sound louder to the audience, right? And if I cut, then I'm pushing it to the back of the stage. It's going to sound quieter, right? So if I have brass, we know brass is loud as hell. Okay, just because I found a sweet spot at 3K doesn't mean it needs to go up. Do I want the brass section that's playing on this stage to be in front of everybody? Or do I want them to be behind everybody? Okay? And when you start thinking like that, then your choices on what to do when you get in certain situations, it starts to become easier because now you can't get rid of it. You can't unsee it. You're like, every time brass section plays, the brass is in the back of the stage. The brass is not sitting in front of the piano player. The brass is playing in the back, right? And the piano's up front. Like, you'll start making these like it'll just start clicking, click, 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 click. You're like, okay, that's why it's arranged that way, right? It's the same thing when you're panning. You're like, which way do I pan, right? And you're like, you see a drum set, and you're like, okay, look at the drummer. He's playing. Where's everything sitting? His hi-hat, right? is sitting on his left side. I'm gonna pan it to the left. I okay. You, the audience, are watching him. So as he hits to his left, where are you hearing it? You're hearing it from your right side, right? Okay, we need to pan that to the right because when the person listening to the music, that's how they're hearing it, right? Like just taking certain things, like you can't unsee it anymore. You can't unsee it. If you ever get in a situation and you don't know where to pan something, okay, remember this, and you're not gonna hear this in like a music class. Um, but energy flows in from your left out through your right. It's just like this EQ starts at 0 on the left and it gets higher as you go, right? Lower on the left, higher to the right. You want a demonstration? Take your left hand, put it over your left ear, like just kind of push in a little, not too hard, and then speak. All higher frequencies are more pronounced, lower frequencies are less pronounced. Your right ear hears high frequencies really well, does not hear low frequencies very well. You can switch. Put your right hand over your right ear and speak, and all the lower frequencies are more pronounced, and the higher frequencies are less pronounced. Okay, so if you're dealing with the sound, and you're like, I have this brass, but it's playing at like a lower octave, right? Then this other sound, which is playing at a higher octave, and you're unsure where to pan it. If you remember that, you know the left ear will pick up the lower octaves better, easier than it will the higher frequencies. Make that panning decision. Okay? So you try hard to get the Cuba syndrome by using frequencies. Hey, look, man. It took a long time, and sitting back and you know see what do we have here? Oh, you got some more stuff here. EQ bass 100, 200, 500, 2000. Not bad here. Sorry, I'm missing all the chats here. Uh, okay, then you said yeah, chat. Oh, it's paused. So it went up. Yeah, it takes a while, man. But the ears, like once it starts picking it up, you can't. It's a beautiful thing, because then it clicks, and you're like, okay, I got it now. But it's like one of those things. If like somebody just tells you, you're just like, huh, and you don't get it just yet. But once it clicks, it's over. So what we're gonna do is we're actually going to decrease here, right? That's gonna give the illusion that this shaker sound, okay, is playing in the back. So as our piano is playing in the front, you're still gonna hear this sound. It's just gonna sound like it's playing behind the piano, and that's what we want, right? So a lot of people will explain with your EQ, you're boosting and cutting frequencies, but for like somebody who's visual, if you use that example of the stage and pushing something closer or further from the audience, it'll help you make decisions a lot better, right? A lot better. So I think here we had minus 12 originally. Okay, so we lost some volume. We're gonna take our makeup gain. Okay. So now when that sound comes into play, it's not as loud. You can still hear it, but it sounds like it's sitting behind this piano that's playing. Okay, that's what we want. So all we have left is this, our bass guitar, in our piano. And once we get this stuff done, then we can start making some panning decisions, and then we can start moving our faders. So I was basically explaining mixing process. We did our pre-mix. So kind of explain the basics, because hey, look, I know some people are probably looking and they're like, man, like what? But there's a lot of people who started out making music and they didn't go to school for this. Okay, and I was one of those people, and I made a lot of bad decisions along the way, and I kept making them, and my music was not sounding as good as I would have liked it to sound. And I kept thinking I needed better equipment. I needed, right? When it turns out it was just not understanding fundamentals. Okay, so we've all had that. And we do this, right? And I explained in the beginning, you could do that. That's fine. But your fader is considered output volume. It's not considered input gain. They're two different things. People think gain and volume are the same, but gain is your signal coming in. That's your noise to signal quality, the ratio, right? It's the quality of it. Whereas this is just the output volume, right? This controls how loud the sound is going from the mixer to your speakers. Okay, so you can make it quieter or louder. But when you mess with the input gain, right, this sound is coming into the mixer. When you mess with the input, you affect the quality of this sound. So the louder you make this and the louder it's coming in here, you'll start to get like a distorted sound. You'll notice, right? If you turn up your kick, but if you start turning it down, it sounds a little cleaner. It might be quieter too, but it sounds cleaner. It doesn't sound as distorted. That's the difference. So you can have this loud kick, come in and turn it down, but you can use a tool like this, play it back, and even though this is telling me it's minus 18, the signal coming in is still over minus 10. Okay, you did nothing by lowering this fader right off the bat except for make it quieter coming out of your speakers, but it's still atrocious here, right? So let's say you had a sound that was almost peaking, hitting 0 to begin with, and then you came over here and you started trying to boost and doing stuff. Let's just do something extreme here. So here we're about minus 6, but here we are actually clipping. Okay, this is what's coming in. Okay, so what are you doing now? When you start clipping, it starts trimming off your peaks. Okay, so now this kick is getting cut. So in the program, it might sound good till you go to bounce this out and the algorithm starts working and it starts chopping that stuff off. And then you go to play it back and it don't hit as hard during playback or in the car or anything as it does in your program. Okay, so a lot of the basic stuff you would have probably learned if you had went to school. You didn't understand it and you just seen people doing certain stuff and you start following, and then you wonder what happened in the results area, right? So we only mess with our input signal. If you don't have an input gain slider or anything like that, then you could always go and use a gain plugin, right? Put it on the first thing here, control how loud that volume is, and then start working from there. Leave the faders alone. It's the last thing we're gonna touch, right? So we got our beat to the target, right, between -3 and -6 with everything playing. Okay, so we can see that here in our subgroup that we're at the target area, and I have a limiter here kind of bringing it to 0, so you can see that here. And now we're going to do our mix. When we get done, we're gonna have a cleaner version of our pre-mix, but we're still gonna be at our target area. Okay, it'll just sound better than it did before we started processing. So let's take this, and I actually want to use. So what I'm doing actually as well is I have a project that I'm working on. This will be my second project. This one is video games. So I am doing a lot of flips from different video games. This is from King of Fighters 96. Okay, I got stuff from like Sonic and Killer Instinct and whatever. But I'm doing these, and this is going to be a community project, so people will be able to utilize this playlist, play it in their streams, whatever. Go for it, okay? But this is something I'm currently working on, so. And as I'm working on this stuff, I'll be live, so if anybody ever wants to pull up, see what we can do, watch me work, have an input, request for a game, anything like that, go for it. Alright, doing this stuff for you guys. So alright, so we have this game sample playing, and right off the bat we have what? Okay, we have bass, we have our kick, we have our snare. So in this, we don't need those frequencies, okay, taking away from those sounds we added in. So we can actually start to cut those out. Let's push in, okay, to the point where we kind of lose that low end, but not push in far enough where it starts to sound really thin like this. Okay. So let's back it up. Let's set it at about 120. Okay? So we still have space for our kick. You can hear that really clearly now, right? You can hear the snare really clearly, right? And we can hear our bass really clearly, right? That's all we need to do. As long as we create enough space and we can hear these things, okay, that's it. We don't need to go any further. Now, same for the other side. The difference here is we want to kind of kill the air, okay, but we do not want to kill the characteristics going on in our high end, okay? So if we push in too far, you'll see what I'm talking about. Now that stuff becomes dull, and you're not going to be able to make that out when the beat comes in. Okay, that's all we need, okay? But you can still hear it, but now we lost the low end, and now we lost a little bit from the high end, right? We lost some of that shine. That's all we need, okay? Again, we're doing a mix, and all that means is we want all of our sound balanced, and we want it to blend together, okay? And play well. Real nice like. So even at the high end, with these sounds that we have that live up there, you can hear them really nicely. Okay, I don't have to do this to get you to hear that I have this going on here. Okay, we can keep it nice and quiet, but it can be heard, right? Alright, now with that being done, if we want to come in here and make any other changes, if we want to boost somewhere or something like that, we can. Typically, a lot of this stuff is already kind of set, okay? Maybe we can look for things that may not sound good. So what I like to do is make it really thin, okay? With a sweep, keep it up, pull the volume up as high as you can on whatever EQ band, and sweep until you get like a ringing sound. Get something like that. This isn't too bad, but it's kind of nasty, right? Especially coming from the low end. And what you could do is drop this, okay? And you can repeat this it's not. It's only like towards the end where it starts at. So we don't have really too much to worry about here, but it's over here, right? As you're kind of following this. But it's not really ringing, so, which is a good thing. Right here, a little hollow, but I think even if we widen this, you'll kind of notice that hollow area. Okay, where it sounds like this, sounds like someone's talking to you in a box. Okay, this is a place where there's not a lot of low range, but there's not a lot of high frequencies as well, right? It's just there's not a lot there, so it sounds really hollow, really boxy. Okay, we could drop that. Now the rest of this, for the most part, sounds okay. You're not getting anything that's like really loud. Here, the drums, but we don't really care about it. We can maybe drop that a little bit. What I'm more concerned about is right here, where I can kind of see that melody. Okay, and that's here. So we can open that up a little bit, and then here we can drop. Okay, and make that a little quieter because we have our drum playing back here. So that would be more like background, okay? Now this, you don't necessarily have to do, okay? But you can boost a little bit more just to kind of bring that out. Okay, so we could do something like that. Let's, actually I'm gonna keep this around like -12. I guess when we get done, I could always move the fader down a little bit, but it is kind of spiky. Let's see what's about there. Our bass, I guess I didn't finish with this, but let's go and where is it? Switch it over to compressor. Let's put the ratio on like 6. Do like a 6:1 for the synth bass. So we're getting some attenuation here, okay? But what I want to do too is I want to adjust this. So once we start to get some activity from our compressor, okay, once we get a little activity, good. Here's what we're going to do, because we're trying to find the peak. Once we find the peak, what we're going to do is start adjusting our attack time, okay? So because it's on the fastest, the moment the signal crosses the threshold, the attenuation of the compression begins. As we start to move this, you're going to notice the volume of the compressor, right, or the amount of compression that's being applied start to let up. Okay, this is letting us know that those peaks that we found, okay, we're going to start actually letting them slip through the compressor. Okay, so you see how we're getting no compression right now with this attack time? This attack time's at about 8 seconds, 9 seconds. Now, usually for basses like this, they'll say start at about 11 with the attack time, but we kind of already know how to fish for it, so no need to do that. But what that does is, especially when you have like kicks and things, when you're using compressors or snares, it'll allow the beginning, right, the very beginning of that sound to like kind of come through uncompressed, and then it will compress everything after that, right? So now that we've kind of found where that is, where that lives, and that won't be touched, we can start to push down on it some more. Okay, so we know as soon as this bass goes to hit, for a brief moment, that beginning part of that bass hitting is actually gonna come out and it's gonna sound really good. No compression, so it just gives it more of like a, you know what I'm saying, when it comes out. Same with like, you'll hear it more with like kicks and snares and things like shorter sounds, but when you're dealing with a sound like this, not so much. However, you can let that first hit when the sound starts have a little more and then compress, okay? And then as that tail, as that's still going, as it's holding, let that be compressed and seem a little quieter, right? All right, for our release, most times 100 is fine, so you could just start it there. Guess I can't do it like that, so but a lot of times you can get in a little quicker, right? Depending on what the sound is, like this. Since it stops and there's just a long gap before it starts again, you could leave it at 100, that's fine. But if you wanted to go down a little more, you could too, there's no problem with that. Now, if I start like adding compression to the drums and I want to put the release time on something crazy, yeah, it might start sounding a little weird if I want to put it too low. But this is cool. 100, don't even need it. There's enough time for the signal to go back under the threshold, the compressor to kick off, and then kick back on. So no problem there. And then let's take a look at let's skip some stuff here. Okay, I think we were already like there. Okay, cool. Now here, didn't really lose anything here. I could probably push down a little more. Okay, let's see. We're barely at like 1 dB, so 2.5. That's fine. 2.5 dBs of attenuation. That's cool. And then we're at -21, so let's just get that back up. We didn't lose that much volume, so all we're doing is we want the peaks here to be more controlled. So let's say at one point the bass hits and it jumps up to -21, and then when you go to hit another note, it's like sitting at -24 or something. We want to make the volume in this more consistent, okay? So we have now achieved that. We have consistency in the volume of our bass, okay? All right, let's work on Alright, saturation is kind of like sugar, alright? Just sounds good on just about anything, alright? So, all I'm doing is just applying saturation to all of this. I'm not targeting a specific frequency range or anything like that, but we want to be careful. We don't want to do it like too much, okay? But just enough. Start to hear a change right here, okay? About -18. We're still sitting at about -18. Let's go a little further. That's a little more consistent. I'll take it. So we're just trying to keep it around -18 as much as possible. So you can see when these parts are coming in, they're here, and then when you get to that second part, it it kind of drops a little, right? But it's not too much. That's perfect. Okay. All right, again, start thinking about the rest of the track. We have our low end and stuff like that. We have kicks and stuff down here. Okay, do we need this low end from the piano? Not in this instance. Okay, so now for the sample that we had, where did we cut? We cut about 120, right? So let's leave it right here as well. Because the way we're trying to do this is we want it to blend. Okay, so I want this to blend with the piano I added. Okay, so by keeping those, or at least starting from that range, okay, we kind of ensure a little bit of consistency. Then we have our drums playing. Now, can we actually push in more on this? We could. Okay. In some cases, you can push up to like 200 hertz. It just really depends on the piano, okay, and what you're looking for. Let's go to here. Okay, again, you can already kind of see some of the work's done. Okay, so just again, you can always just listen. Right? Now you start to lose that clarity in the piano. Okay, once we find the clarity back in our instrument, we're done. Okay, so make that room and everything, because you got stuff that lives up here, okay, as well as down here, so we need everything to play together. I am not going to add any compression here, as the plugins already kind of handled that. All right, I've been using excuse me, I've been using Complete. Okay, and then I have at least this piano, and the mini Moog bass that I'm using is UAD. Okay, so it's already got some pretty nice effects and things like that. So I don't do too much when it comes to this stuff, because it already sounds really good. Okay, so I don't do a lot of extreme stuff. The kicks and all that are from Machine. Okay, and go through here, look at all the Machine stuff. It has like all the wave files and okay, so a lot of this stuff already sounds good, so it looks like I'm skipping a lot of stuff. That's why. It doesn't need it. All right, so but we could. Let's add here. Now, unfortunately, I can't make this any bigger. But what we could do here is make this a little bit bigger. It's down just a bit. Add just a little bit of decay. So you hear what that sounds like. That's too much, right? Well, let's say we give it like 2 seconds. Nah, so we give it like 1.7. Okay, so Now, what a lot of people don't do, and this will help. Okay, the high cut filter here, wherever you set it, okay, frequencies to the right, right? Frequencies past or higher than what you have set are not going to have this reverb applied to it, right? The effect that we just found. So for our piano, normally somewhere between like 1 to 3K. We don't need like 4K. I mean, you can make some room there if you want to, but usually from that 1 to like 3K is it, right? So let's say we leave it at 4, which is by default. Now here's the low cut. The low cut works like a high pass filter. Okay, high pass, low cut, same thing. Low pass, high cut, same thing. Okay, so if we don't do anything here and we leave it like this, all the bass frequencies are going to start picking up that reverb also. And so now you have reverb in your low end that may start fighting with your bass. Let's put it up to about 900. So now everything up to 900 has no reverb being applied to it, and that leaves the reverb out of those frequency ranges as well. And your bass will thank you for it. Your drums will thank you for it, because now it doesn't have this sound vibrating, okay, and bringing that reverb at those lower frequencies. Let's get this out of the way, which is like the last thing we have to do here. And I wanted to find another bass guitar that was a bit cleaner, but it's okay. It's okay. I could do that another time. But you guys can hear that, right? I think it has to do with the effects, but I am not too familiar with all the settings in the where is it right here? I'm not too familiar with all the settings here and like where stuff is, so I'll mess with that later. But we do have a back end, right? There's plenty of amps and things like that to tinker around with. So, and it has like its own preset chain, so it's got EQ and compressor and all kinds of stuff already applied to it. So I'd have to go in there and mess around with it. However, what I would like to do is just clean this up. All right. Again, it's got its own little chain going on in there. Alright, so we know our mini Moog is taking up space down there, okay? And we know our kick is occupying around here. Okay, so we're gonna leave a little space there. And then we can see we got some activity here, okay? We can kind of bring out more of that low end. This right here, we get some clarity from this thing. What we want to do with that is up to us. Okay, you could drop it, you could boost it. Okay, I'm gonna drop this. We want to give the illusion, okay, for this thing, and then And I'm fine. I'm fine with this, okay? It's up a little bit more. And I'll work out that again. Whatever that amp is, or maybe I just need to find another preset and then mute the guitar. Hopefully we can get something that sounds close, okay, to this guitar that's playing this. It sounds pretty close though, right? It's kind of close. It's kind of close. All right, so. All right, cool. And then of course we forgot our EQ here for our poor piano. Alright, so I just thought about that. I was like, I didn't do anything with this piano, did I? So I just want to bring this down a little bit and bring this up a little bit. Because chances are, a lot of times they have the piano sitting sideways on the stage, right? And usually it's on, if you're in the audience, okay, when you're looking at the piano, it's usually to the left side, and then it's usually turned in such a way where the right side of the piano is aimed towards the audience. So the higher notes, right, are closer to the audience than the lower, right? Because that's more towards the left, going towards the back. So we drop a little bit here, and we raise a little bit here to simulate that, okay? Now that we've gone over that long process, victory, okay? So we can look at our final mix bus here. And like I said, once we get done, we should have a cleaner version of our premix, and we should still be sitting within our target level. Now, we could go here and start messing with our faders, doing some panning, some widening, and stuff like that, right? So move this to the right a little bit. So I pan the open and the closed hat to the same side, the same amount, because it's basically it's the same piece, right? It's just it's either open or it's closed, right? So now the crash, you tend to find them on either side. It depends. In this case, what we could do is just kind of not have everything on one side really heavy, okay? Even though you won't hear it too well, we can move it to the left. So when you hear the closed and open hat playing, fine. And then when you hear the closed hat play or the crash cymbal play, it's coming from a different area, okay? And for this same thing, I can move that here because that'll be part of crash. Alright, cool. like that. All right, let's take a look here. Look at the wrong thing. Okay, we're still within our target. I'll definitely listen to this more a bit later after I give my ears a rest. Maybe I'll be back on this evening or something, and then we'll start on another one. But yeah, it should be about it. And then I'll definitely work on that guitar. See what we can do with the amp, or maybe we could just find another bass guitar preset that might be closer to what we're needing. Though that does, I mean, I definitely need it cleaner. I definitely need it cleaner. So we'll see what we can do with it. But this is a wrap. All right. A light. Okay. So not, well, actually, let me do that. Let me get this bounced out here. Come on. All right, cool. And then I can go back and play it later and just listen to it without having to see all this other stuff, and just close my eyes, play it back, see what it sounds like. Alrighty, that's another one down. So like I said, we'll keep working on it, but right. Okay. We got some stuff on the way. And I'll get these uploaded to my YouTube channel. We're almost close to 10. Once I have it, I'll go ahead and get the first batch up, and then we'll be working on a whole new wave. So I might speed this up just a little bit more. Yeah, I like it. And then definitely need to get my voice tags in here, and we'll be ready to go. Little did they know, alright? I might bring that bass down just a little bit. Yeah, alright. Alright, that wasn't too bad. I wasn't too bad at all, so. I like. So again, we're getting close to that. We're getting close to that number. Okay, we got Mega Man here. We got Streets of Rage. We got East. If anybody's ever played the East games, we got Sonic, Killer Instinct, Bomb Rush, Cyberpunk. All right. 8 Eyes. This was a request. Well, most of these are requests, but this is from like the NES, and this one is from the Super Nintendo. Okay, this is from Lunar the Silver Star. It's for the most part done. This was actually something I had attempted maybe a couple years back, and I would like to finish it. I think the foundation's already there, so doesn't need, too much. However, I would like to add something for the chorus. That's literally the rest of it. We can figure that out. All right, the rest of it can be worked out, or the rest of it is complete. We get that, and then we can work on arrangement. So it just doesn't sound the same every single time. But yeah, this is pretty much done, and that's what we're leaving with. So I'll try and be on this evening, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and let's see what else we can do. All right. Appreciate the follows. Appreciate you guys for lurking. Okay. If you ever got questions, feel free to ask. I'm doing this stuff for you guys. If you got requests, you can join me on Twitter. You can either tag me, you can send me a DM of something that you would like to see me take a crack at. I'll go for it. Yes, I do make original stuff. Well, if you're looking to buy music, I am getting my BeatStars page together. Okay. What else? Is that it? I think that's it. Yeah, so whether you need something original, whether you need something flipped, whatever, it's like if I could do it, I'll do it. Okay. As far as this project's gonna be free. Alright, it's for the community, and I will get these the first 10 on my YouTube page as soon as I have them. Okay. So with that being said, remember, stay patient, remain diligent, and as always, be majestic. Peace.